Hey, my wonderful people, a pleasant afternoon to you. All right, beautiful people, I'm going to talk about a particular situation, and I'm going to tell you the reason why I'm talking about it. I'm going to talk about it, and I want people to understand the importance of replenishing, renewing, restoration, and having passing on batons. So in fairly recent times, before the Freedom Streets concert, Vybz Kartel was interviewed by Winford Williams, and Winford was basically saying, and I'm putting it in my own words, so I'm not saying what he said verbatim, so you don't, or he asked a question really and made statements. You don't think that there are other kings, because Vybz Kartel for a little while now has been saying he's the king of the dance hall, I guess for the 21st, the newer generation and so on. And, but, he was saying that, oh my goodness, man, say I had some predecessors who were kings, you don't think? And you say, yeah, man, he had Burger King, and, he made a whole joke about it, and it went on, and, he basically saying he is just the king right now and whatnot. And, I think Beenie Man got wind of it and was saying, I suppose King Clown. And in my mind, when it ruminated in my mind, I said, did he mean King Clown, or the king has been crowned? The new king has been crowned. And I started to think of the story of Saul and David, and I'm not calling Beenie Man a Saul. I am simply saying that Saul was a king for a time. He was, basically, commissioned or put in the position or knighted, as king. Mind you, he was king for about 40 years. 38 of it, God didn't walk with him. Anyway, that's another story altogether. And then David, was anointed to be king, although he took the throne 13 years later, not the same time. And even, let us use even his son Solomon. I mean, David would have passed the baton on to King Solomon, so he did not remain king. And the reality is that, in Beenie Man's case, and notwithstanding, we're not taking away his contributions to the dancehall sphere and the dancehall community and the dancehall music. He has been a stalwart. He has been a pioneer. He has really contributed greatly to the arts and to dancehall. No one is taking, especially in the somewhere in the 90s into the early 2000s, predominantly the core time that he really and truly contributed greatly. But one of the things that the reason why I brought up the Saul and David in particular, David for me was the greatest earthly king. Certainly can never supersede the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, all right, which is Jesus Christ, our soon coming king. But he was the greatest earthly king. He was really, in spite of all his weaknesses, he really was a man after God's own heart. He really, generally speaking, did what God wanted him to do. And his heart was pure before the people. He treated the people with fairness and justice, truth and reality, and was very kind and generous. And he would make if he were a prime minister, Lord of his mercy, he would have been voted in until he died. He would have been voted in until he died. King David. It doesn't matter if you're even PNP or GLP. Both sides would have voted him in until he's dead. Until he died. And even King Solomon, he was a, he was a good king as well. In spite of all the different, straying and so on, where he allowed the women to make him worship false gods and all of that. But he came to his senses. And I thought about the King Saul and David, where Saul was when the women sang, Saul killed 1,000, but David killed tens of thousands. Beenie Man, I want you to understand the legendary accolade, and, there's a particular word that I really wanted to use, but let us use, our simpler words. The brilliance, the musicianship, the craft, the wit, the talent, extraordinaire, excellence par excellence that Vybz Kartel has brought to the industry. Now, we're not talking about whether the music is slack I've often brought it from academic perspective. This man's alliteration was off the hook. His simile was just amazing. His metaphors, oh my goodness, awe-inspiring, dazzling. And it tells a story that this man honed his craft. He is the Usain Bolt, the Bob Marley, the Michael Jackson to the more, modern day 21st century music. Not to say your time you were not in the 21st century. I'm talking, that's why I say modern day. When I remember doing something and I was doing a study and I was looking at the effects of music on the brain. I don't really subscribe to it really influence. It's like you'd have to put them in a controlled space for hours listening to a certain type of music for it to really get into your soul, man, to cause you to do certain things. Because I said that if that were the case, if we're going to say that music causes people to, if you look at it from a cause and effect, then everybody would have been an unaliver. You can't use certain word. We can't say murderer. Yeah, everyone would, because a lot of people listen to music that are not wholesome on a day-to-day basis frequently, and they are not unalivers, if you understand. So, but anyway, and I remember at the time I was listening to various catalogs of Vybz Kartel, different styles in dancehall, different, movement, different, the way how he just did the entire thing. And I remember one person who actually does not like dancehall music, I asked them to listen to 3 songs. The following day, I was asking her to tell me how it made her feel. Just any little thing, And she said, Toni-Ann, I'm going to download all 3 of them. I'm like, I couldn't believe it. This is somebody who said it's not a Christian person, actually. Who just don't, they have people who are just not into dancehall music. I know people like that, not necessarily, not Christians, really. And I wanted to understand the man is a game changer. He's like timeless. His music, he followed the time. Even when he was in prison, you still heard his music as though he was out. It superseded quite a number of the other acts and artists. The man. So you would, it's like, as I said, I'm not saying that Beenie Man slayed 1,000, but it would almost be likened onto that, like he would slay 1,000, but he slayed tens of thousands. The man is an influencer. He's a marketing genius, a businessman, a guru, a musical talent. He's a maestro in dance hall. You don't have to like him. It's not about like him. It's about reality. It's about a reality. So when you say King Clown, I think you really mean to say the king has been crowned. And the thing is, you are the one who, it's more self titled. It's like a self-titled title that you have given yourself. It's not what people commissioned you. It was not made official, like Joe Bogdanovich, that's his name, Bogdanovich, whatever the name is, had done in fairly recent time with Spice, because preceding her was Lady Saw, who was officially made dancehall queen. Rightly so. I mean, even her, and I was listening to an old-time song for her. She said she's a female cartel, Vybz Kartel. And she would have been in your era, Beenie Man. She said she's a female Vybz Kartel in one of her old songs. I want you to understand the magnitude of a man he is. It has nothing to do with you liking him or people think that he's this, that, and the third. It's about his talent. He's a talented, very talented man, which kind of, his talent superseded, some of the things that you would have accomplished. And don't get me wrong, you're a good artist. You made your, you made your claim. You achieved greatness. I mean, you have your Grammy. You've toured the world. You've contributed greatly. You have a good catalog of music. You're a great performer. I mean, you do have that over him in terms of performance. And so on, but over the overall package, because God is not going to give everybody everything. You're not going to be great or excellent at everything. So I'm just not, but you need a performance for live, performances and so on. But I mean, as a recording artist, most times people are going to be listening in their own personal time. They're going to necessarily be watching performance. So it's not King Clown, sir. It is the king has been crowned. Even Bounty Killer, the warlord, basically crowned him in a sense. Guys, you know what to do. Read TikTok and YouTube. Subscribe. Give me one of them lines.